So good morning and welcome to Monkhouse on Mondays. Today I'm honoured to be joined by Rebecca Cox, who's the MD of the IOS, and Katie Tower, who is Head of Learn to Swim at Swim England. So good morning, ladies. How are you today?
Morning, thank you. Yeah,
morning. Very good.
Excellent. I'm going to start with Katie. So Katie, I'm not sure what your physical activity regime is normally, but what have you been up to during lockdown?
Well, actually, my kids have been keeping me very physically active. Right. I'm not a gym goer. I'm definitely much a swimming pool bunny, but evidently not being able to get in those at the moment. So bike rides, had to get a new saddle. I'm not going to lie, that was a new experience to go out on a bike for the first time in many years. That's been our new fitness regime.
Brilliant. That sounds good, Katie. What about you, Rebecca? What have you been up to?
Well, I'm a bit gutted because I just rediscovered my love of the pool about 2-3 months before all of this happened. So I've lost that again quite quickly. So it's back out pounding the streets or long dog walks with the kids and the family.
Right, brilliant. And it has been interesting, hasn't it? The number of people that you now come across who are running, who are cycling and things like that out there in the community. I think that message every day that we've heard that we're allowed to do something makes a real difference, doesn't it? So, okay, so we're going to be talking swimming lessons primarily here, but I just wanted to get some context in this. You know, we've just done our survey, 65,000 responses, and nearly 22% of those people were swimmers before they took part before lockdown. And what's really interesting is their activity levels have actually reduced during lockdown, and they're also actually really desperate to get back. And I'm guessing our parents are desperate to get their kids back to swimming. Where were we with swimming lessons, Katie, before lockdown?
So in Swim England, we knew that there was about 1.2 million children and adults on our Learn to Swim programme across the country, which was, a great number, and also more on other Learn to Swim programmes as well. So yeah, we were in a really good position, and I think a lot of those parents are desperate to get their children back into the pool. But we're hearing from operators at the moment, there's probably about 10 to 15% drop off. Again, just around that customer confidence of going back.
And it's interesting because that number actually is quite similar for gym membership DDs as well, around cancellation of gym membership DDs in the public sector. It's a little bit higher apparently in the private sector, the low cost centre as well, which of course don't tend to do swimming lessons and things like that. So actually there's an awful lot of children learning to swim if those are the ones registered with you guys and getting their rewards through you. And one of the things that I've been trying to talk to operators about is that I'm seeing an awful lot of information for fitness bunnies, for gym classes, and for the type of stuff that people are doing in their lounge and doing an instructor in the lounge, etc. I'm not seeing as much for swimming. So Rebecca, how are you currently communicating with your operators about the things that you're doing?
So I think we've been pleasantly surprised the level of engagement that we've been able to maintain throughout this COVID period. There was a bit of a fear initially that, especially with furlough, that we would lose contact with a large number of people out there in the field. But we've not. We've managed to maintain some really strong networks and groups who have been speaking to us on a really regular basis about the progress that they're making with reopening centres, or the barriers or hurdles that they're kind of meeting throughout this process. So we've been able to work closely with the operators on what they need to help come through to the emergent sector, but we've also collectively with Swim England been able to train or provide some really comprehensive collections of CPDs and webinars. We've made a lot of our paid for CPDs, particularly in the early days through this process, accessible without any charge. It's really important that we keep the workforce active and engaged. A workforce away from their space for coming up for 4 or 5 months now. It's really within our duty to make sure that when they get back into their space, that they are fit to hit the ground running, to use a cliche. Katie and Swim England are putting some great webinars together as well.
I think it's really important. As you know, I'm a trustee of CIMSPA, and the workforce is our key motivating factor for what we do, and keeping those people in the industry is tough. Anecdotally, I know of lots of coaches and instructors who are leaving to do other things. They found actually working at Tesco's or Sainsbury's is earning them almost as much money, having hours that they can control, and actually there's some opportunity there. So what sort of things are you hearing operators do in that connectivity with their own teams while they're on furlough?
So there seems to be a mix of activity. There's not one shoe that fits all, really. Some are being really proactive and being able to reach out to their furloughed workforce. Some are probably a little bit concerned with how they can and can't reach out. So we've been trying to work with those to explain it's absolutely okay to be training your workforce while they're furloughed. In fact, it's really important to be trying to maintain some kind of communication line through upskilling, etc. As I say, there's a huge variation, but there's a real willingness from the partners that we're working with to ensure that their furloughed workforce is well as ready to come back, but mentally well throughout this period and process. It's great to have such amazing weather, isn't it? Let's face it, if we're in a different weather scenario, this whole situation might feel a little bit different, but actually you have to consider the way people might be feeling while they're at home and the concerns that they might have. And I know that the partners that we've been working with are concerned about that. So there's lots of different things we've been doing collectively together to address that.
Good, excellent. And the one thing I do have to say, and Katie, this links very much into the Learn to Swim programme. I did some work at Chesterfield a few years ago, and I follow them on Facebook and things. And seeing some of the swim instructors that I know from Chesterfield actually doing presentations directed at the children that would have been in their swimming classes has just brought a massive smile to my face. I think it was so clever. Have you seen any more of that type of stuff around, Katie?
Yeah, loads of it actually. I've been really impressed with the amount of swim schools, obviously following a number of them on social media platforms, and actually as a parent myself looking for different home-based activities that I can do with my children to keep them engaged. The imagination of some of these teachers in these swim schools has been outstanding. So we've seen a number of them do videos. We've seen stages 1 to 7 done in a dry side environment, where they've drawn swimming pools on the floor. We've seen activities like home learning activities that Swim England created as well, so some home packs specifically around water safety. Again, we want to make sure that that message is right up there. We've seen some home workouts for more of those elite swimmers or the higher end athletes, nutritional advice as well. So there's been an absolutely outstanding outreach to a number of different audiences, from very basic baby and toddler stuff that you could do in the bath, all the way through to that competitive environment as well. So yeah, it's been great to see, and actually, you know, how imaginative people can be without access to a swimming pool. I think as in really engaged and put people actually onto some of Becky's CPDs and webinars where it's made them want to find out more, which has been great. Yeah,
no, that flexible approach has been really interesting. One of my friends has got herself a pool, and she's tied herself to the fence, and you can see her swimming effectively in a pool whilst tied to a fence, which is, it just shows how much swimming is important to people's lives, isn't it, when you go to those types of lengths in order to continue swimming. Okay, we're now moving through the process. We seem to be getting a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. We're hearing around potential reopening dates, and I know you're working on some guidance to help us reopen. I think you're launching this on the 15th of June, which is great. This is obviously before the 15th of June. So is there any little sort of tips that you can give us, any little bits of insight that we could think about, and where we can go and look for this insight, the guidance that you're providing?
Yeah, of course. So as you said, 15th of June is going to be the date that we're going to be launching the guidance. So very much the start of the guidance will be that overarching information around how to run your swimming facilities in a COVID environment. And then it will be broken down into separate sections for all aquatic activities, so things from club to talent to your aqua aerobics down to your swimming lessons, where you'll find out more detailed information of how those types of activities could look in your pools, considerations for things like your changing rooms, your pool surrounds, and that cleanliness of that environment as well. And then on top of that, we will supply some more detailed training opportunities through the Institute of Swimming as well.
Okay, and Rebecca, what's that going to look like? Because we know about lifeguards will have missed quite a lot of training, and they're supposed to train regularly as their CPD. Swimming teachers are supposed to train CPD. How are you helping organisations be ready for when the doors open around that whole competency stuff that is so important to this element of the workforce?
Yeah, so if we're speaking specifically about the Learn to Swim workforce, it is really important, not only to us as an NGB and a training provider, but to the sector, that that workforce, when it does come back, as we've already touched on, is fit and understands the workspace that they're working in. It's all new for everybody. So we'll be picking up that guidance and looking at talking to through to the teacher workforce through a number of webinars or recorded sessions that give them some really good direction around whether it's talking about teaching in deep water, because we have to open up the pool in its entirety. It's not always practice that lessons happen in deep water, how we effectively communicate from poolside, and picking up all the COVID related guidance that will sit within. It's a really detailed document, I have to say. There's been a lot of work that's gone into it, so we're just going to try and pick out some of the really key snippets and share that. Obviously we'd like to pick up the whole guidance and build something that we can talk to the workforce, the entire aquatics workforce, but that's something we need to explore further. It would probably be quite time consuming to do that, but what we are going to be able to do is give the training to the workforce so that when they come back they're completely familiar with that new space they're working within.
Okay.
And that's going to be our target as well, David. Sorry, I was just going to say that's all going to be available to any teacher, to any operator. It doesn't matter where they're sitting, where they're coming from. It's an NGB responsibility to make sure that we're supporting in that way.
Absolutely. Katie, did you want to add something?
Sorry, yeah, I was just going to add to that to say we talk about customer confidence in coming back to the pool, but actually we need to reinforce that workforce confidence to come back.
Yeah.
That's going to be very new to them, and that's exactly what we want to try and get from this guidance. It shouldn't be daunting, it's not scary, it's okay, we need to do something differently. How are we going to do it? So it's about building that confidence with the workforce as well.
Absolutely. And I'd be really interested to know if there's going to be any resources that people can share that give customers confidence, because I've been suggesting to organisations that actually creating videos of team cleaning or doing a walkthrough of reception so that people know what to expect when they get there. Have you got any plans to try and do some of that type of stuff for people, or suggest what they could do?
Katie, I'll take the question. We'd like to. We will do our best to get to that level of detail. It's just, again, it's how much we can achieve in the time that we've got.
Okay. Well,
but
sorry, Katie.
I will be doing some little short videos. Sorry, I was going to say we were going to do some short videos around the for parents as well. So we were going to talk to the parents about getting their confidence and taking their children back, as well as some short videos for the teachers. Again, we don't want just a huge, 100-page document that people need to read through, actually giving them some easy information, bite-sized information.
Brilliant. And of course, all of this will be available across all of your social channels, at your website. Lots of opportunity for people to interact with you and gain this competency to be able to reopen our pools and get kids learning to swim, and adults, of course, learning to swim again, so we can enjoy the summer. Rebecca, Katie, thank you so much for your time. I know you're incredibly busy at the moment, and thank you for the input into getting us back open and getting these pools in a safe and great environment. So I'm going to say thank you, and we're going to close there and make sure everybody looks on the 15th for your guidance. Thank you very much. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.